If you thought the Walt Disney Company was actually going to try and quiet the noise surrounding the culture war, well, I've got some oceanfront property to sell you in the state of Nebraska. The latest Doctor Who special, which is distributed and aired on Disney Plus in the United States, does not quiet the noise whatsoever. Instead, it ramps the noise up past 10. This show or this episode, this special, features a ton of transgender propaganda. It also features a lecture by the doctor getting lectured on the proper use of pronouns using an alien creature to do so. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our pop culture commentary here at the Trent Report. So let's get into this here. I wrote this article up at thatparkplace.com. You should add it to your bookmarks. This is the best place to get pop culture news on the internet. The headline reads, Disney fails to quiet the noise, pushes transgender propaganda aimed at younger generation in new Doctor Who special. As I stated earlier, the most recent Doctor Who special, which streams in the United States on Disney Plus, saw the return of David Tennant as the Doctor, but it also heavily promotes transgender propaganda through his assistant Jason Noble, who now claims to be a woman and goes by the name of Rose Noble. Uh, the special begins with Tennant's doctor providing a recap that Donna Noble had to forget him, otherwise she would die. From there, it transitions into Noble describing her son Jason as a daughter. She says, "And the most beautiful daughter in the world." And you can see there that that is a picture of the actor Yasmin Finney. Not sure what his real name is. Playing this Jason Noble character in the Doctor Who 60th anniversary special, The Star Beast. Clearly a man dressed up in women's clothes and pretending to be a woman. Immediately after this recap, Donna is confronted by the doctor as she's carrying a handful of boxes. She then informs Tennant's doctor that the boxes belong to her son, albeit she calls him a girl. After repeatedly calling him Rose, he eventually runs over the actor, Jason, who's playing Jason Noble, runs over. They hammer this with you. This is all within like the first 10 minutes. I think they hit you at least 10, 15 times that trying to convince you that this man is a woman, which is impossible to do. It just you can't. Men cannot become women, and women cannot become men. Nevertheless, let's go on here. After a spaceship crashes over London, Donna's husband Sean begins calling out Rose. When the doctor confronts him, he describes Donna as his missus and his son as his daughter. Again, I'm telling you, 10, 15 times in the first 10 minutes of this special, trying to convince you that a man can become a woman by calling this man a woman and describing their son as a daughter. Really trying to hammer home the propaganda here. The show then tries to make a joke as the doctor shows off his identification and informs Sean he's the Grand Master of Knowledge. Sean replies, "That says Grand Mistress." The doctor shakes the wallet and retorts, "Oh, catch up." Obviously, a reference to Jodie Whittaker being the 13th Doctor and then regenerating back into a man. The show continues to try to indoctrinate viewers into believing a man can become a woman by having Sean inform the doctor, "I've got the best two girls in the world," made obviously referring to his son, Jason, and his wife as two women. You can see a screenshot there. The show eventually reveals that Rose's real name is Jason when a number of boys from the neighborhood ride past on bikes and call him by his real name. The show clearly attempts to frame the boys as villains for using Rose's real name as Donna threatens, "I'll get them." She also promises to inform the boys' parents about their, quote, bad behavior. It's obviously implied that it's bad behavior by calling him his real name. It's utterly ridiculous how they're trying to moralize in this episode. Donna later informs her son, "Listen, I would down the world for you, darling. Anyone has a go, I will be there and I will descend." So clearly, kind of threatening some violence here if people actually call him by his real name. I think that's the implication there. Just absolutely disgusting moralizing here, completely inverted from what is true and right. After constantly trying to make viewers believe a man can become a woman, Jason Noble eventually gives a lecture to the doctor on pronouns. The doctor says, "Yes, the meep. I promise I can help him get home, and then you'll never see me again." Jason retorts, "You're assuming he as a pronoun." So there's the lecture right there. How dare you assume his pronouns, doctor? You bigot, you white male bigot. The doctor then admits faults, immediately apologizes. Just absolute. This is what they want you to do: immediately apologize and submit to their will. Clearly showing that this is what the doctor does, so you should follow his example. Very, very sick stuff here. Clear propaganda in Doctor Who. But he goes on and says, "True, sorry, good point. Are you he or she or they?" The meep responds, "My chosen pronoun is the definite article. I am always the meep." So just cringe as well as evil. This transgender propaganda is definitely supposed to influence a younger generation, as the actor who calls himself Yasmin Finney explained to the BBC. Screen Rant reported Finney said, "It was so surreal to me because obviously Doctor Who is huge, and I remember watching Doctor Who when I was growing up years ago, especially the Bride episode, David Tennant and Catherine Tate. And I just felt like lucky enough to be seen as a trans person in something so huge as Doctor Who. And I just felt lucky that like I would be Catherine Tate's daughter in a way that's just insane. I mean, she's an icon and I love her. But here is the insidious part here. I think representation is so important. And if I had Rose growing up referring to Jason, it would be a completely different story, I think. I think representation is what we need and what the younger generation needs to feel like they can do it too. So clearly trying to indoctrinate younger people into this transgender ideology through representation. Very clear there what Finney is trying to do through Doctor Who. And I think what the people over at the BBC are trying to do as well. And then I think by default, with Disney actually airing this, they are also trying to do it as well. We've seen this in their Reimagine Tomorrow campaigns and all of the stuff that they've actually created themselves, that they are indeed on board with this evil ideology. But let's continue here. And if you don't think that transgenderism is not evil, well, it is. It is morally evil. We have Father Eduardo Thomas Velez explaining earlier this month on Facebook. He wrote, "The act of transgenderism is neither natural nor reasonable. For this reason, such an act is intrinsically evil morally. At the same time, transgenderism is not merely a moral evil, but is also a mental and emotional illness. As such, transgender people suffer morally, mentally, and emotionally." So what we can take away from this is that by trying to push this evil propaganda through Doctor Who, the Walt Disney Company, the BBC, everyone involved in this is actually trying to subject people to not only the moral evil of transgenderism, but they're also trying to inflict mental and emotional harm on them. It's just absolutely wrong what these people are doing, and we have to reject this stuff. He goes on and says, "This suffering, of course, is not a justification for people to become transgender, but in the providence of God, their suffering, the suffering of lost human beings, becomes an occasion for Catholics, including the Pope, to offer these people the healing mercy of Christ." I think that goes to all Christians as well, not just Catholics and the Pope. And we should be trying to offer them the healing mercy, but there is also justice, and we also have to have a firm line like, hey, this stuff is wrong, you can't be doing it, you need to turn away from it. So it's not just kind of mercy. You have to let them know like this stuff is wrong. And I think Father Velez does a good job of explaining both of those dynamics. He goes on and says, "The church can never approve of the evil of transgenderism, but she's certainly called to minister to lost people mercifully, such as transgenders, that they may someday open their minds and hearts to healing grace of Christ through repentance." Again, I think that is really key there. You have to actually have repentance from this person that is claiming to have changed genders, which they physically cannot do. So they actually have to make a decision on their own too, to have repentance and show that repentance. So very key there on what he has to say there. As for this idea, we get back to the headline that it fails on quieting the noise. If you've been following me for any time, you know that I've been covering Disney CEO Bob Iger and his various comments on Reimagine Tomorrow, him thinking himself to be the arbiter of truth and justice. He knows what is right, and he's the one who can determine that. Well, back in, I guess it was like October, November last year, when he returned to the position of CEO, he made it very clear that he wanted to quiet the noise surrounding the various controversies, I guess you could call them, that the Walt Disney Company had found itself in, especially the parental rights and education bill in the state of Florida. Anyways, this is what he said. He said, "I think there's a misperception here about what politics is. I think that some of the subjects that have proven to be controversial as it relates to Disney have been branded political. I don't necessarily believe they are. I don't think that when you are telling stories and attempting to be a good citizen of the world, that that's political. It's just not how I view it." I actually probably agree with him. I don't think that it's political. I think it's moral. And what we've got now is we've got a moral debate that has obviously become political as well. So it obviously is a core central moral thing, but it has become a political debate as well, because we have so many people that are immoral now in this country, or at least we have a select elite that are definitely trying to push this, Bob Iger being one of them, the people running the Walt Disney Company, obviously part of that. Iger then rhetorically asked, "Do I like the company being embroiled in controversy? Of course not. It can be distracting and it can have a negative impact on the company. And to the extent that I can work to quiet things down, I'm going to do that. But I think it's important to put in perspective what some of these subjects are and not just simply brand them as political." Well, I'm here to tell you that pushing transgender propaganda, the idea that a man can become a woman, is not political, it is moral, and you are leading people down an immoral path. You are subjecting them to emotional and mental harm, and you should not be doing this. And so I do think that we can get political about it and raise an outcry. And you need to make a stand and say no to this stuff. It's time for you to realize what is right and wrong, because clearly you don't right now. But he would kind of echo those comments to investors during a 120-person investor event at Walt Disney World just in September. Needham financial analyst Laura Martin reported on September 20th that Iger explicitly stated he wanted to quote, to quiet the noise on culture war issues. He informed the investors that he believes, quote, content should be entertaining, not issues focused. This is clearly not entertaining content, is clearly issues focused. I mean, 10, 15 times trying to convince you that a man can become a woman in the first 10 minutes of the Doctor Who special. That is an episode that is trying to propagandize to you. It is not trying to entertain you one bit. Martin also relayed that Iger's key goal is to, quote, quiet the noise because culture wars are not healthy for Disney's business. So Iger's saying that it's not healthy for the company's business to get involved in this stuff, yet they're still pushing it through Doctor Who. So, like, it doesn't really make any sense if you're saying it's not healthy to be involved in these culture wars, that you're still pushing the culture war stuff. So a little bit of doublespeak there, I think, coming from Bob Iger, given the fact that the company continues to get themselves embroiled in culture war topics, despite him admitting that it's not healthy for the company's business. So I think clearly promoting transgenderism, a moral evil, in the latest Doctor Who special streaming to Disney Plus is not quieting the noise. And it's not hard to see that this is just another folly by Iger that will see Disney's business harmed, as Martin noted, Iger himself detailed. So that is my thoughts on this Doctor Who special. I think it should not even be distributed on Disney Plus. This type of propaganda should not be exposed to anyone. I think the Walt Disney Company has a moral duty and responsibility not to air programs that are trying to endanger young people. And they should remove it from Disney Plus immediately. But let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.